Hi parents, I hope you're all doing well. I just realized that in the weekly challenge that we posted, or that I posted, that the kindergarten team worked on, that it did mention some sight words in there, and I figured it might be helpful if you knew actually what sight words were, so I'm just making a quick video to explain them. Sight words, you might often hear them referred to as popcorn words or balloon words. I used to call them that in my class a couple years ago. Sometimes they're called Dolch words or Club 20 or Club 22. There's lots of different names for them, but essentially they're just words. So a sight word is a word that when we're reading it, we need to be able to recognize it upon sight. So we don't want to sound it out. We don't want to have to look at the picture. We just have to know it, and it's basically through memorization because a lot of them can't be sounded out. It's important to know sight words so we can become faster and more fluent readers, and then we can use our energy on words that we don't understand, that we don't know, something that would need to be sounded out. So it's really important to know our sight words. It's not the only thing we need to know when it comes to reading, but it is a part of it. So we can't ignore it. So for example, if I show you this, everybody knows what that word is. We don't have to sound it out. We just know that it's the. There's just no thought involved at all because we've seen this word so many times. It's memorized. It's stored in our long-term memory in our brain. That way, when we're reading, we know what that word is. Right? Easy for us, not so easy for 4-year-olds. So, some of these words can be sounded out, which is great, but most of them can't. And this isn't a very good depiction of that. However, if I were to have all the words here, this list would be a lot bigger. And it's important to know sight words because they make up most of our books. So we want to recognize them upon sight to make us go faster, but especially because they take up like 80% of our book. So if you have a book at home right now and you look in it, it's made up of all of these words like, he, it, the, big. They take up a lot of our reading, so it's important that we know them. And basically the best way to do that is through memorizing them. Now there's different ways to teach these sight words. A very common way in kindergarten that is used is through something called the popcorn word song. The idea behind popcorn words is that they're words that pop up in our reading all the time. So you might see a chart like this. This one's actually kind of backwards. It's supposed to go across. This one goes up and down, but you teach it to the tune of Mary Had a Little Lamb. So like, I, he, and in that, of, is, so on and so forth. So then what would happen is when a kid is reading, let's say they see this word in a book, right? And they're like, oh, I don't know what that is. So then they got to go back here and they got to sing the song. First they have to recognize the word, and then they have to sing the song to find the word, and then they have to remember that word. So they see this word, they don't know it. Okay, now I got to identify it here. Okay, like, I, he, and in that, of, is, it, to, can, the, right? So for me, it's kind of a process. You're reading like 12 other words before you get to this one. When let's just take a shortcut and let's just look at this word and know what it is. And besides, a lot of kids aren't auditory learners. They don't really learn best through like song and stuff. They're mostly visual learners. So I'm going to show you the way that I teach sight words so that you can become more familiar with it and it will make more sense to you. However, I just want to put this out there, no matter what you call them, they're just words that you need to know. So you can call them sight words, you can call them popcorn words, you can call them words. Okay? They're just words that we need to know. Important words when we're reading. That's what I like to say. So what I use in my classroom are something called I words, and I discovered these maybe 3 years ago. So basically it's taking the whole process of singing out and we're just skipping right to the word. And let's just memorize the word instead of memorizing a song to find a word. So like I mentioned, most kids are visual learners. So this kind of takes in all pieces of that. So it's got color in it and it's got pictures because kids learn through pictures. So instead of can looking like this, and in here, wherever can is, it's going to look like this instead. And let me just explain that in a little bit more depth. When kids see a word like this means nothing to them. These are letters, black letters on a white page, right? This looks similar to this, and this looks similar to this. Like they all just start looking the same because there's only so many letters that you can make words with. So what we do is we have this, which has a picture and color in it. So can, we introduce it as having an actual can in the background. And we teach it like this for so long until eventually this picture is then stored in their memory, because pictures are stored in our memories, right? We don't have words that are stored in our memories. We've seen this with our eyes. Our brain took a picture of it and now we've learned it. So we want to do the same thing. We want to skip the whole process. Let's take a picture of this, and this is going to be easier for kids to remember. So, for example, can, eventually we can take that picture out and then just see this, and they're still going to know. They're still going to know that this word says can. So the same thing for blue, which isn't a sight word I would necessarily teach in kindergarten, but this list just went in alphabetical order. So it's in blue and it's got blue things in it. So we show that to a child so many times, and then eventually we take that away and they should know that this word says blue. Now, a lot of kids will not need this whole process. I shouldn't say a lot of kids. Some kids won't need this. Some kids they can either memorize with this, they can look at a word and they can just remember that it says can without any tricks. So what I do is I teach them this way. They may need it, they may not, but this way at least I'm getting to everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a PDF below that has 50 sight words on it. You by no means need to learn 50 sight words by the end of kindergarten. Okay? I would be happy with 15 to 20. In my experience, most kids can learn more than that. They're capable of learning more than that, especially being in kindergarten for 2 years. They're capable of learning more than 20. However, the expectation is just that you know a few sight words by the time that you leave kindergarten. So if you have your home reading folder at home with you, these sight words will be in there and you can just go through and practice. I'm also going to be posting videos like the one I did for Monday's learning that is going to slowly start introducing very important sight words. So there's going to be a list below and a PDF below, so make sure that you click on those. I hope that makes sense. If you get anything out of this video, just remember that sight words are words that we need to know right when we see them.